What's happening, people of the world? Welcome back to another episode of the Whiskey and Wade Show with me, your host, Tommy Mac.
And me, your better host, Tyrone McKenna.
And you know the crack, we're in association with Dragon Claw Whiskey, the best of the best. Make sure you drink responsibly, but it's easy to get carried away with stuff because it tastes so great.
Yeah.
And today, we have a very special guest. This man shot the fame just in recent years. He made history when he done 5 sold-out shows at the SSE Arena. The man is the king of clips. The one and only Paddy Raff. Welcome to the show.
You said clips, sir? I don't know what you said.
Clips.
Don't
get it.
Let's keep it PG. You know?
What's his missus been sending? But you've pretty much shot the fame in probably the quickest time I've ever seen. Like, was it 2018? I think you started being a comedian.
So it was March 2018. I did my first ever open mic stand up, and it was within a year. I was doing Ulster Hall, and then within a year and a half of starting it, it sold out the SSE.
What made you think let's go into comedy?
Well, I've been trying to think of the analogy because I always get asked that and I always fumble about. And the boxing analogy, it's like my 2 jobs before I did stand up was I was in a wedding band, playing guitar and singing, and also used to be a trainer in a call centre down the town.
Which call centre?
HCL. Well, that was the one in Boucher, and then
I was call centre man as well.
What one?
LBM.
LBM?
It's
up near here, isn't it?
Hated the call centre.
LBM.
I swear to God, it was the most depressing thing in the world. We had like targets. We BT gas. We had to sell gas to people, and you had a target of selling 2 people gas insurance. But it was fucking hard work.
Yeah.
And you
it's
just
so
went
destroying, like the targets and outbound and
same thing every day, in and out. And then I actually made my break in professional boxing, and I just got up and left halfway through the
smacked
shift.
somebody, and somebody says you should be a boxer.
I just got a phone call. Do you want to be a professional? And we're going to pay this and that. And I just mid-shift, and I said 100%. Put down the phone, walked out of the place. I was like, that's the best day of my life.
That's the way to do it, yeah.
But
so that's what I was. So I trained people in a call centre. So that's what I'd done for years. And then when I started doing stand-up, it was kind of like putting the 2 things together. So in the boxing way, it's like somebody getting into boxing and going, fuck, how did he end up, fighting for this title so quickly? And then you find out he did jiu-jitsu and kickboxing before. So it's a change. It's a definite change in profession and discipline. But there are elements that help. So
maybe boxing's the wrong analogy. MMA.
Aye, but like
so he's coming in. He's a black belt in fucking jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But he's only had 1 fight.
Yeah, exactly.
UFC champion.
There's that's just what it helped in that. It took away some of the nerves getting on stage because I'm literally, and I do a bit of guitar stuff in my stand-up, so I was literally getting up on stage in a way that I've been comfortable with.
Was it a different vibe, but like
100%.
different nerves and stuff?
It still makes you so nervous. Like we did the Ulster Sports Club, and like that's maybe 80 people in there, and you still get so nervous. I get more nervous in the smaller venues than I do in the big venues.
That's what I do in boxing. I always say, see small Ulster Hall or something, I'd be shitting myself going out because the crowd's on top of you.
Yeah.
But in the Odyssey and the SSE Arena, 90% of the people I don't know. They all know who they're watching, but I don't know them, so I don't feel you don't feel as impressed. Intimacy, there's no. You don't feel like they're on top of you and you're not as worried. I don't know. There's something.
Do you get that, like if you land a jab or whatever, and you get a big roar from the crowd? Is it the bigger the crowd, the more that affects you, what you're doing? Or are you completely zoned out? Because as a comedian, you probably have both of them. Then you know both.
Yeah.
As a comedian, the bigger laugh and the longer a laugh goes on, the more confidence you get, and it actually lowers your heart rate a wee bit, and you can take the time to have a drink. And would it be the same with boxing? I think the crowd's really getting behind you.
I love the crowd, so the crowd's always behind me because I'm always in wars, and the bigger the crowd, the more they're on top of you, the more excited I get. Yeah. And I want to make everyone entertained. They're paying hard. They're hard on cash.
Yeah.
And it's expensive enough to get a ticket for the show, so
they won't getting free tickets when I keep trying to tell them stop it. They don't
but half the place is filled out with comps. We're making it. The promoters am I making anything in this? Another fucking comp.
I like everyone to go home happy, so I love in box. I get in the wars, and I just love everyone screaming. And the bigger the crowd, the more I seem to get in the wars. But I think it's the same. It just feels more intense in the Ulster Hall.
Yeah.
Like there's I don't know, it just feels like a lot more pressure in the smaller venues.
You can see the eyes, you can see the individuals, whereas when it's a big sea of people, it's kind of, it's a wee bit anonymous. You're like, okay, I don't need to worry about.
Yeah. At the start of your career, like, see the first time you went on, and the community, you went up to obviously your missus, you went up to your mates and stuff, and you went, I'm going to do a gig here. What was their reaction?
It was the other way about. They were telling me to go and do it because I used to play football when I was a lot younger, play for DC, and then stopped when I was like in my late teens, didn't play again until my late 20s. And so I was playing football about 3 or 4 times a week, and then I tore my ACL, and that was me. The doctors were like, you're not going to play again. So I found that I had these, you know, sort of hours a week that you would have spent, you know, out playing football, and I was like, what am I going to do with this? And that's when I started doing wee sketches with, you know, Snapchat filters. And I was
this for the intention too?
No, it was. Do you know? It was literally to kind of keep my mind occupied because it wasn't like. I know with mental health, like people talk about depression and throw it about. I wouldn't say I was depressed, but you know when you're just trying to hold a bit down, and you're like, I couldn't get out and play football. And you know yourselves being physical. If that had to stop, and that was the only way. I only liked playing football, didn't play any other sports. I was like, I had to stop, and I was feeling it. So I found myself keeping myself occupied by doing these wee Snapchat things, and it was different filters, different stories, and it was like, you know, there was a wee meerkat filter on Snapchat for a while, and that was the one I did. It was like, people are always saying to me, you're like a wee fella from Compare the Markets. I'm from the fucking markets, never mind, Compare the Markets. And I sent that out just in my family group chat, and what was happening towards the end of like 2017 was I was getting sent them videos from other mates who didn't know it was me.
The other groups.
And they weren't even, and I was like, where did you get this? Like, a fella that I work with from Dublin sent me it, and I was like, these are kind of like going WhatsApp viral.
Did you go in the group? Who's the fucking
Who is it? I want credit for that. Look at my Jews. I'm owed points on this.
Can't trust anyone in this group.
Snakes, hilarious. So yeah, things were going viral through WhatsApp and all, and it even ending up on then other like Facebook pages and stuff. And it was going viral. And I was like, fucking hell. And then it was people just going, you know, you need to fucking go out and do stand up or do something or write. And that's where it kind of came from towards the end of 2017.
Were you laughing at them when they were saying it, or were you going, do you know what they're right?
Yeah, no, I didn't. For years, like since I've been like in my teens, people would say every now and again somebody would come up to you and say you should try stand up, you'd be good at stand up. But I think being from West Belfast makes you go, that's icky. Yeah. Getting up on stage and trying to go.
I hate the word icky.
Icky, get me ick.
Ick is an ick.
It's a new. I'm trying to fuck. That's, to be honest, is literally the first time. It's an exclusive podcast, exclusive. I was like, am I using the right fucking context now? Am I right in saying that? So yeah, fucking yeah. Okay, it was. What's the West Belfast ick? What's a different fucking word for it? Yeah, it was fruity. It was just fruity. I was like, nah, and I think that's the thing. Is being from the West, it is like sort of, you don't do that. Yes, you can be funny.
People in West kind of frown upon people trying to do it kind of stuff as well. Like, that's embarrassing, that's cringy.
Yeah.
And
because
in other cultures it's not, but in West Belfast,
go and play football, go to a boxing club.
Yeah, if you try something different.
Those things are all right though. The sporting kind of things are people love to get behind that. But it's the arts, exactly.
Even the live, see our podcast, our first live podcast, I was cringing. I was like, is this too cringy to do?
While you were on stage, dude.
Turned around and went, oh, is this cringy? Like,
over the mic?
No, but
on the way down.
On the way down, I haven't even done it yet. And I was like, this is semi-cringy, because that's the way Belfasters think. That's the way West Belfast think.
I was going down to the SSE. I was like, I'm going to give myself this one moment. And I put a Queen song on from like live at Wembley. We grew up watching it as kids. One Vision. It was the big fucking song to build up. And we're getting towards the SSE, and I hit play on it. And my wife was driving, and it came on, and the fucking song was pumping. And I kind of looked around. They were all kind of like me. I was like, nah, I'm not there yet. You know, I'm not comfortable enough. You know,
when you start thinking your career's getting a bit of momentum, a bit.
Was it like after the first open mic? Were you like
basically when did you leave your band and say fuck yous?
Yeah, just walk out. Like,
I'm a comedian now.
Pick the symbol like fucking Will Ferrell. No, it kind of happened. It was gradually but quick. So whenever. If I had done really bad in that first open mic, which can happen. I mean, like I did 3 really good first gigs, and then the 4th was an absolute stinker.
Really?
But it can be the crowd. You'll know yourself. It's like I've seen comedians who the first time I saw them had an absolute stinker, and it makes you think. I mean, in the early days, you don't realise you have to go, hold on, it could be a bad crowd. And I remember going, fuck me. And then I saw the same person.
Panic?
I panic watching that one because this fella was on before me, and it was at the same gig that I had a shit one as well. Yeah. And I remember he knows who he is. Like a few months later, saw him again, absolutely killing it with the exact same set. And I was like, Jesus Christ! It just shows you it's down to the audience in the night. So because the first one went well, I went back to it. Genuinely, if it had went so or crap, I would never have done it again.
Are you a confident person normally? Because you need to be confident in this kind of...
Not when I'm doing something brand new. So that comedy was brand new. Getting standing up and doing stand-up was brand new. So I wasn't confident that, I'm just going to smash this.
Tommy was? I've never seen someone...
I
was texting, I'm worried for you here. You're going to fucking...
And you were worried?
And he was like, nah, be sweet. Oh, what can I do to boo me?
Yeah.
And I was like, fair enough.
That's why I wasn't worried. And that's why I'm still don't get nervous, because the worst that could happen is they're not going to laugh.
Yeah.
It's like boxing.
But
you're get knocked out.
Your style is quite sort of when I was watching you that time, it's not like you're having to sit through, cringe stand up where somebody's trying to, they've got to set up joke punchline, and that way. Yours is very conversational. You just find yourself going along with these really funny stories and the observations. Like I've been telling some of the observations that I mentioned, the one you said, don't want to give anything away, but about what it was like being the only black person in your street or whatever. The cereal, I won't say the joke, and I told my son that, and he bust out laughing. I was telling my wife, and he heard me, and he bust out laughing. Like he just thought it was hilarious. And, so yeah, like those but your style, your confidence really works for that kind of it comes across in your style.
What happened from the first gig or your first couple of gigs to Bomb I'm headlining?
The Ulster Hall.
So it's like
that's what we're trying to do.
What to take the podcast to the Ulster Hall, definitely. It was that thing of it was coming through people following my stuff online and sharing my videos and then saying, where can I come see you live? So this was only the first few months of me doing stand-up, and I wasn't even putting up stand-up clips. It was all the kind of wee sketches, and people were going, where can I come see you live? We'll see you do stand-up. And at that time I had all I could say was, I'm doing 5 minutes in the Pavilion in a month. And people were like, I'm not going to fucking build. They were kind of looking at, I didn't realise we were looking a night out, we're going to go and see this fella. And it was only after like 2 or 3 months of that a mate of mine who does he's sort of a promoter for live band gigs, like a lot of other bands, like the ones upstairs you can hear, whatever. We put them on in different venues, and it was easy to him, but I didn't see it. He just went, why don't you just rent the room? I'll give you a room for the night for a cheap rate and put tickets on sale. And I was like, it was like, an epiphany for me. It was like, yeah, maybe you can do that.
Cut the middleman out.
And that's what it was. It was just like, and so it wasn't like trying to bypass any, not earning your stripes. I had the demand there on my social media with people saying, we'll come and see you. So I put the first show out, and I was like, I'll be able to do, and it was before any characters like Nigel or anything. And I was like, I'll be able to do an hour on my own, with the guitar and stand up and stuff. And I did more than an hour, and I had like
yourself.
Just myself. William Thompson MC'd it. I remember Willie was one of the first people. It was the second stand-up I ever did, and it was in Triple X Club, and Willie was MCing it, and he can back up. He says, you will be seeing that fella on big stages, let me tell you. It was only my second gig, and I was like, fucking hell. And he was like,
in the SSE.
I have a clip of him on my first ever one where the show had finished, and he went back out to kind of wrap it up. And I was just glad after. I was like fucking so nervous. Yeah. And he called me back out, and he was like, you are lucky.
Was that after your 5 minutes? Or
no, so this was the first full hour, which was like about 3-4 months into doing stand-up. And he brought me out, and he was like, you're lucky to have only paid a tenner in here tonight. You'll be paying big money to see him in the SSE in the future. And I remember just fucking standing going like that. And it was actually my wife reminded me, he's like, do you remember he said that? He was fucking right. Like, so
how much were the SSE tickets?
Fuck, it was on Willie's advice, it was 30 quid. I don't even know, and that's the thing, I don't even know what the price of ticket. I just say to my manager, I'm like, don't rip anybody off. I don't want, they never do like that, but I always ask, what is it? No one to add the fees on. I don't care what it says on the poster. It's like, see when you get to the checkout, it's jumped by like what is the fuck is
tenner, and people go, fuck's sake, it's $11.50.
Yeah. But whenever you get up to the sort of, if you say, say 28 quid, that'd be good, and then you go, with charges it jumps up to like 38, and you go, whoa, hold on, I don't want people thinking I'm sticking my hand pocket for 40 quid here. So I always ask, what will somebody be paying at the checkout once you add on the promoter's fees and the venue fees, and then you kind of work backwards from that.
See, from jumping up from doing your own shows and stuff, do you get a lot of envious people in the background going, fuck him, he jumped the queue.
Yeah.
He didn't earn the stripes the way
That's
he's
what
saying.
he keeps saying to me, because
he's kind of
not to toot my own horn, but like I'm flying.
I'm gonna give so like a lot of people say to me in boxing, do you hate Jake Paul? He's jumping the queue. He's a YouTuber and all that. I don't, because they've gathered their own fan base outside of boxing. It's not the boxing fan base, but they've got their own fan base. They've came into boxing. They put on a show and they're selling it out. So they're not doing anything that I can't do what they're doing. So they may as well do it.
Yeah.
So do you feel like people are trying to attack you because you're kind of doing something similar? Right?
I think it's like it might be a modern thing, you know, where there's that's another genre. Then, you know, Jake Paul doing that. And is Logan Paul wrestling and all? People
are all raging about this shit, but like
it's the demand is there.
Their demand.
That's what it is.
They've got their fan base, but from years of hard work.
Yeah.
McDonald said to me when I'd said to him, no, because my third gig was a fail, and that's like a coveted fucking spot to get, and I was like, dang, people will be raging like as if I'm skipping a queue, and he says no, because you haven't skipped a queue, you were just in a different queue. You've built your name doing something else. Like everyone out there trying to build their name, but you've built your platform. And
if you've got the talent, it's nobody will blame you. People might think it beforehand. Then once they go and see you go. Doesn't matter how, you know, whether you've only been doing it a couple of months or a couple of years, you don't get those spots. Paddy wouldn't have asked you to do it if he thought, you know, it wouldn't have been good for you, it wouldn't have been good for him, it wouldn't have worked for anybody. But I think that's the thing, is that you will get found out. The Logan Pauls and Jake Pauls of the world, or me or you.
Jake Paul did get found out, but against Tommy Fury, do you know what I mean? That was his first time fighting a boxer.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, the demand's still there.
Yeah.
So he's getting another fight here again.
How long that lasts for, you don't know. But that's what I'm saying about with comedy, is that I completely understand if somebody, you know, sells out a big gig because they had built up a bit of following online, sells it out, and then nobody goes back to see that person again, because the punters will vote with their feet. You know, there's not much money going about these days, and if somebody goes to a show and feels like either that person was shite or there were a mixture of shite and they were shortchanging us by trying to just coin it in, I'll not be back, then that person will have a wee bit of a sale and then it'll all drop off. And I feel like, you know, if you're going out and doing stand-up, and able to then put on another show, and these people are coming back again and again, it's building and building, then and also then if you're constantly putting stuff out online and you're able to just keep building your audience and keep going, then you kind of have to respect, with no matter what genre it is, I suppose you kind of have to respect what they're doing. But obviously there will be people who have chosen a traditional, you know, a different route or whatever, that might feel like, oh, you know, you've skipped the queue. But, you know, you just have to go and say, well, you know, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, and if it, you know, if people keep coming back, that's where the proof is that way.
As long as you got people coming back, then obviously you're doing something right.
Yeah.
At the end of the day as well, who gives a fuck?
But if they are returning customers, it means you're good, you're doing something right. It's not a fluke where you've sold a lie, you were actually shit.
And you get found out. You get found out so quick. Yeah. So it's like I'm doing it 5 years now, and I started doing my first solo stand-up shows after, say, 3-4 months of doing stand-up. And if I hadn't got a fucking standing ovation that night, and if people hadn't came back, it was 3 months later to put on my second, and I was stupid. I put on a brand new R 3 months later because people were like, my mummy would love to come see you, I want to bring the ones out of my work to see you, and I didn't know enough about the scene at the time to go put the same show on, you know, just say I'm re-releasing another night of it, and these people will come back. So I made a fucking rod from my own back and went, yep, new show. And so I did a new show, but I debuted the Nigel character at that one live. So that took up about 20 minutes of the hour and a half that I did. But yeah, like, and again, then they came to that, and then that led to the next year, which is 2019, when it really started kicking off, and I did like 3 nights in the Mac and 4 in the Limelight and 3 in the Ulster Hall, and it was down to drugs because I was high in bed. I had to start that story properly. I was down to drugs. This is down to drugs. You're going to need that responsibly fucking comment again. Jesus, it's going to come with a content warning. But it was because I was getting my knee fixed after tearing my ACL. And I was on the waiting list with the NHS for 2 years, and eventually they started clearing the waiting list by sending you down to get it done privately down in Dublin. So I got a letter and it was like, go down to Dublin. And I remember, so my mum was a nurse, my aunties and all, and they were like, oh, private, that's the good gear. And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, see the painkillers you were going to get after this? You're going to be
from the bad lady,
so I was loving it. I was all sorts. Taking orders, no? So I went down, got the operation done, and when I woke up, I was absolutely flying, and like I don't take drugs or anything, and I was just going, woo. The man next door to me was I remember he was a culty fella, and the curtain was there, and I was lying, and I was like laughing to myself, and then he was like, sir, and I said, yes, he went, are you skiddly bopping? And I was like, oh yes, I was flying. And what happened was I got an email from somebody at the Mac saying, oh Paddy, if you're looking to put on any new shows or whatever, give us a shout. And I said, no, I'm going to give myself like a year to, tread the, do all the gigs and get my sort of stage time up. And I had messages from people saying, when's your next show? And I went ahead and replied, high as a kite, yes, let's book the I blocked 3 nights. If the first one sells well, I'll do the second. And whenever I kind of came around a couple of days later, I was up at home, I was like, why the fuck did I do this? I don't have, I don't have time to put this on. It was only a few months. It was January that the operation, and I booked it for March, and I was shitting myself then. But I had a set and all that I was going to do, a new set, and I was like, oh. And then they went on sale, and the first night sold out in 5 minutes. And the girl rang me, and she was like, you near crashed our site, let's release the other. And that was the start. 2019 was where it really properly took off, and I ended up leaving the wedding band as a result.
Were there a reason?
No, because I was into drugs and all by that stage and everything. No, that was it. I was chasing the dragon, No, I was. We're still great mates to this day, and I was gigging at the weddings, we were doing about 70, 80 weddings a year, and then doing like corporates and playing in like the Bot and McClones and all that. And I was loving it, but we always had like a shadow band. That actually we used to put the shadow band out on their own because we were that busy that they took the second gigs that we couldn't do. But we always had members that could step in for us at any stage. So if I wanted to go away on holiday or something like that, I knew as long as I gave a bit of advance, somebody would step in. So yeah, the second, the B team, they don't like that. They
call it. How'd you get into writing series?
So that was kind of like doing the sketches on online at the start of the pandemic, because obviously everything stopped, and I started doing. I kind of went into overdrive writing sketches and just doing, like the news was changing so much every day that you could do a sketch, something about just a wee observation thing about the news, and it would go viral, not just in the UK but like almost worldwide. And I'm not saying it was like huge sensation, but I was getting messages from people all over the world. Every now and again you get wee ones, and that's how I could tell is that you would scroll down through your like sometime have we look, just general look. And how I knew things were going viral beyond here was because it used to just be white, but then during the pandemic it was white, brown, blah. I was like, hold on, this is going further. And it was going to like people. I was getting messages from somebody in like fucking Trinidad and Tobago saying, loving these sketches, man, keep it up. And I'm like, yes, I'm fucking making it here. But that's what happens. I started writing sketches, and then I kind of realised I never used to write them down. I actually genuinely used to just have a vague idea and I'd set up the cameras and kind of just ad-lib a bit. But during the pandemic is when I started to write them. And then when we pitched to the BBC, we heard they were looking to make stuff, and because of the way TV was working at the time, there was only certain shows they could make. And I was like, we pitched a one-man show basically, and because of COVID regulations and all, we were like pitched it in a way that we could make this without having to have a big crew. So that's how we got the TV show. Was I after a month of the pandemic, I'd already like 50 minutes worth of sketches that I put together in like a compilation and sent to them, and then that sort of they gave me the TV show from there. It was mad, like just doing that during the pandemic and keeping a wee small crew, and I had to kind of star in all of them then. I couldn't even let other people play them.
See the way like you were saying you started getting global fans?
Yeah.
Was there any, or is there any plans to do a world tour?
Shit, yeah, no. Whenever I say that, so I mean, like the pandemic was a bit unique in that pandemic material and sketches could go anywhere because it was so universal. And now that that's kind of subsided, it's hard to hit those numbers again and all. It's like, exactly. What's the Trinidadian equivalent of BT9? The man, it's like it's not going to go down well. But you just have to be realistic. It's like if I went to do, like I do get people messaging from likes of New York and Australia.
Like a lot of the big names here, like Shane Todd doing America and Australia and it.
Yeah,
so,
we have good expat communities who've moved over there, but it's the thing as well is that a lot of the comedians here are starting to find people who are fans and don't have a direct connection to here, and I think that's like the goal is that you'd love to be, and I've started to get that. Like
have
I've
you done America yet?
No, I'm barred. I'm not. I tried to go and get my knee done out there. So any knee operations going? You've already had them done. No, so I've had messages from people like expat ones that have moved over, like, you got to come over and do stuff. But I've done a few shows in like London and stuff, and up in Glasgow and whatever, and it's at those where you chat to people after, and I was expecting everybody you talk to be from here but living over there, having a connection. There's quite a few times you chat to people and they're like, a Londoner, and they're like, I'm like, oh, how did you get into my stuff? Expecting them to say, oh, my wife's from Belfast, and they're like, oh no, just I found it during the pandemic and I followed you since, loved you, and you're like, oh, it's class. So it's not all of them, but it's definitely a core of them.
Do you think like ones outside Belfast, ones outside the north, it's a harder gig, like London ones and Glasgow? Is it a tougher gig, or do you think it's just all the same?
You do have to obviously choose your material and go right. If the punchline is Lower Andytown, it's not gonna it's not gonna land. Like LA, Lower Andytown, people go, that. But that's why I've kind of made a conscious effort over the last wee while. Like with the TV show, the sketches that go biggest whenever I kind of clip them out and put them online are the ones that don't have any references to things here. So like the one about going to filling up at the breakfast buffet in the morning, was on, and I put that out, and that was getting liked and shared, and you can see on Facebook and stuff what countries are the biggest ones. And if something goes really big for me, 9 times out of 10 you look and it says England 78%, and you go realise that the English ones are sharing it more and stuff like that. So you realise that if you can try and be funny without always leaning on that, because you could just yourself, you could just do so much material about West Belfast. Easy. It's so funny, but a lot of it's only going to be relative to people from here. So it's just about trying to make sure you can do those bits of material, and that's what I've put out a few bits from the last show that were quite sort of universal, and they do go big. Like there was one about Flight Radar, the app on your phone that tracks flights, and I just did a wee bit about that. And I put it up, and it went massive. And I started getting messages from people in Turkey. Apparently, it's massive in Turkey. And this guy who runs like a page with a few million followers in Turkey on Instagram is like, "Can we have a transcript of this so we can put our own Turkish subtitles on it?" So I transcribed it and sent it to him, and then it went big for him. So I'm not saying like I'm a big name in Turkey. I'm not going to go and get.
But I'm just saying, mate, get a wee apartment, and I'll take him in the next couple of years.
I'll be coming back full head of hair and all that. I was like, we two for one.
Do you ever feel like there's pressure on you because you've done so well and you only broke out in the last 3-4 years?
Yeah.
And there's so much pressure on you to continue that. Like a lot of people have to work their way up to it, and there isn't as much pressure because they've made it. They're already seasoned. They're already professional. You came in as a kind of a novice, and went straight with that.
I think I would feel more pressure if I felt like I was running out of ideas, and if I felt like, fuck me, what am I going to do for this next stand-up hour that I'm going to try and put out, or what am I going to do for the next sketch? But the truth is, my phone is fucking. I have a note in my phone, and it just goes and goes and goes. It just is and the most annoying thing for me is whenever I start writing a tour or start writing the new sketch show, is I have to go back and fucking audit this thing and put it into categories. Like that's a stand-up bit, and because it takes so long, and there's so much in there that could be gold, that could land me a spot on Night at the Apollo, and I might never get to do it because it's in amongst all this other shit, and I just keep doing the next thing pops into my mind. So I would be worried if I thought that I'm running out of ideas. And with characters like Nigel, I don't really do that much anymore, and that's because just for me, I've stopped sort of finding ideas for him. Every now and again I'll find one and I'll put it in my note, but I haven't gone back to it.
For you to bear it out for you.
Yeah, for me, I'm like, I've done a lot of that, and I'll use it for certain things, but I kind of do whatever is coming into my mind, and I'm like kind of a bit impatient that way, where I'm like, I want to do that now. I'm not putting that in the note to do it in 6 months' time. So no, I feel like I would be worried if I felt like I couldn't keep coming up with the stuff.
See, just to go back before you started doing stand-up, so you were doing like the wee clips on Snapchat and stuff. How did you find? Because obviously, like you were going viral, locally. How did you take that humour and put it in the stand-up? Because it's two different kind of things.
It's hard to work out like what will work on stage and what will work on stand-up, and that's what I'm saying about that note. There's certain things you look at, and you kind of. The longer you do it, the more you realise, that would be a stand-up bit or that would be a sketch. Some can be both, but it's hard to crack. There's certain ways of filming things that you just go, that's definitely going to be a sketch. And I think for stand-up, I found that, I'm still finding what my favourite bits and favourite ways to do things are. But for me, it's like if you're sitting in a house and you're chatting with your mates or whatever, you're having a few drinks, and then there's a story you're dying to tell. Whenever I tell this, or somebody will go, here, fucking tell them about the time, blah, blah, blah. Say if somebody does that, I've started to remember that now. I'm going, that'll do well on stage. If it makes people laugh and there's only 3 or 4 or 5 of you, it'll work on stage like that, 9 times out of 10.
See, I remember looking at, because once I started doing comedy, or just in the summer, then I started watching stuff, like about like people's mentality and all the stuff, and I was watching this thing on YouTube when the comedians were sitting there, and one of them says, you don't start getting good at it until you're 10 years in. Mm-hmm. So what do you say to that? You're 5 years in?
I have 5 years to go until I'm good. I'm not even good.
You're doing alright good without being good.
Where are you going to be playing when you're actually
Jesus Christ.
Windsor Park.
Let's fucking book it. Let's have another knee operation.
What is the dream of the next 5 years?
Fuck, I don't know. I mean, like writing the TV thing at the minute, that's we're pitching it to Channel 4 are interested, and BBC National as opposed to BBC Northern Ireland. That's not to say it'll get made.
This season? Oh, this is
no. So
show?
Season 3 of the Paddy Raff show. We can do it if we have time to do it. It's kind of that thing of but
you want to move on?
BBC are being supportive of me and are like, look. Yeah, it's the wedding band kind of thing. They're really, sort of keen on that, and it's one of those things that anytime I mentioned it, whenever I was starting to write it, the people would go, fuck, I love the subject of a wedding band. Everybody wants to know the ins and outs and stuff. And because I did it for 12 years, again, it's that thing of I don't struggle to think of any of the funny stories.
About you giving secrets away? Like.
I had to change the names.
The band texting Paddy, fuck off.
Yeah.
Paddy,
they're all on board. I'm going to give them wee jobs on the show to keep it sweet, and they're getting paid extortion in amounts. Like, how the fuck's he a runner and he's getting paid 10 grand a show because it's his secrets? Nah, it's not even necessarily their secrets. It's like the amount of weddings I worked it out. It was over nearly about 1,200 weddings I played at. So out of all those, I can kind of like say, without putting names on it, I can kind of say what happened to certain weddings. And if you want to acknowledge that that's your wedding and say, hey, that was mine, then that's on you. But it would be. I'm not going to say you did this. Yeah. Like some of the things.
There'd be a list of people who say it as Lady Recus. Paddy, come out the fuck. He doesn't live here anymore.
All of a sudden, I won't.
BT9.
Will we BT9 then? I'm like, fucking get the fuck out of Dodge. Yeah.
No, but the amount of characters you meet doing those type of gigs as well. Like there's at least 1 or 2 every night. Yeah.
So you gigging in a wedding band, a function band, like Jesus.
And like
he's got his own band, and he's doing a double.
But like every week you have a wee story to come in and say, you want to
I think that's it.
Fucking
yeah. Most jobs you always like ordinary jobs. You always have main acts. And there's always stories. So I think that's why. You have to have the
comedic brain to put it in the...
Yeah, well, you've got that background. But see, it's exactly that. Every week that I went gigging, did a wedding on a Friday, wedding on a Saturday. By the time Sunday came around, like my wife was just like, right, and I would have all these stories, and every week without fail. And for that week, any of my friends or family that I met, how'd the weddings go this weekend? There'd always be something, and you're not even making it up. You're just telling the truth. This is what happened, blah blah blah. And like there was one time we were playing. And I turned around and I was kind of in charge of the band, and I wasn't the lead singer. This fella Marty was playing bass and singing. He's a brilliant singer, and I had the names of the bride and groom and all. And I turned around and I was like, it's Brian and Christina, and it was the first dance, and we hadn't even talked to the bride and groom yet. Everybody, we just got in, set up, and talking to the photographer and all. And I turned around and said, Brian and Christina. He says, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the dance floor, Brian and Christina. And I went, and looked around, her name's not Christina, and she was near crying and all. And they did their first dance, and the fella Brian come up and he was like, where did you get Christina from? And I was like, it's actually tomorrow night's wedding is Christina. And he went, that was the name of my ex-wife.
Fuck!
So Mark, purely, and he was looking at me, what the fuck was that all about? Fuck. And I was like, that's the one. He did take the blame for it because it looked like it was him that made the gaff, but it was me. And so there's just loads. And then the people messing about with your equipment and all. Like you would leave the stage at half time to go and get a buffet, because that was the thing, was that the best thing about being in the band, you don't have dinner before you go out because you're going to get tore into the buffet. There's always so I would be out and I'd be fucking stacking the plate and all, and then you'd hear somebody on the drums, some kid up on the drums with a fucking fork, like on a 200.
You just touched my drum set.
Yeah, they're fucking Step Brothers.
He's a brilliant drummer. Go ahead.
They always would do that. They'd be like, let him up, go on, they're all right. And they'd be all taking videos, go on, or you play the guitar and all.
Sean's brilliant.
Yeah, and you're trying to be heavy-handed enough to get them off stage, but you still want paid. So, so you're like sort of
Get off the fucking drums, please.
Oh Jesus.
It's fucking work. Like a wedding's one thing, and like the worst situation to be in is like doing it over COVID. The big thing, because there wasn't loads of functions happening.
Yeah.
There was loads of house parties, so you were getting booked to do people's like, birthday parties.
My sister-in-law got for the engagement party. The wee guy come out with a guitar and the
I was guilty.
See, before COVID, like I always would have said, like I'm not doing house parties. No, that's weird as fuck. But because we had no other, everything else was cancelled. So we're like, we'll have to take this to get a bit of money coming in. So we started doing the house parties, and there's nothing worse.
All right.
When there's like somebody on the other side of me from me saying like, "Oh, here, lad." Jimbo,
no. And
you're
how
going
can
like
you...
no, or they've only paid you for 2 hours, and you're there 3 hours later.
I know.
And there's keep playing. You're like, I'm stuck in this person.
There's no last orders in a house. We always gigged, and it was always 1 o'clock, and they were really strict up here. Like 1 o'clock, you have to finish, and so I did DJ as well. So we would play the band, and then whenever we finished the band bit at like midnight, I'd be bouncing on the laptop DJing. I had more equipment than what I was just using fucking Tractor and Crossfade, and like there was no beat matching or anything going on here or anything. So that's what it was. I was just it was so simple, like, and I turned. I was fucking never mind. I was doing Spotify 12-second crossfade and all like to way for slash. But I used to love it. Then you were getting to the last song, you'd be timing it like to the fucking minute. It would finish New York, last note 1 o'clock, and I'd have the bar. Put the lights up at 1, the lights would go up. We used to try and see how quickly we could get the gear stripped down and get out. And one night we went to a place, and I knew in advance, I was like, lads, it's got an in-house PA system. Floppy days. So I says, can we hook into it for our disco set? Yeah, no problem. So I hooked in. So we got to take every item off stage except for the microphone that was connected into their desk. And as soon as 1 o'clock came, we had the lights turned round, the disco lights. I was like, and at 1 o'clock, New York, 3 cheers to the right, hip hip hooray, hip hip hooray. Thank you very much for being in the front. Good night. And they go, one more chin to turn. We're not there. We weren't even. Where the fuck did they go? And we just whipped the fucking mic out of the way.
Do you get tortured? Say you're on a night out. Do people come up to you constantly asking you to do certain people's characters?
Do Nigel?
No,
not. See, I kind of tend to. I was never really big going out anyway. I didn't really go out much. Like in terms of going out for nights out, it was always just on the road or house parties. But if I'm with my kids, people be dead respectful and wouldn't really say, or if they do, they're just like, sorry, can we get a wee picture or whatever. But yeah, if you be out past a certain time at night, yourselves, the drugs. Fuck yeah, no, you do get a wee bit of it, but people are generally sound. Like I've had literally zero in real life. Nobody's been an asshole, because that's the thing is people ask you about how do you deal with like social media, people being dicks online, and I've realised that the people saying those things online, they never say it in real life.
Do you do much online?
Yeah, everybody does. The bigger you are, and that's what I was. The laugh of it was, I was writing something during the pandemic. Just a wee bit of stand up. I'll be a funny bit of stand up, and I was writing it down. I was like hypothetically saying like it doesn't matter. So if like Belfast Live put an article up and it's got me in it, like Paddy Raff sells out, blah blah blah. Instantly, and it's like it's got 53 comments, and I'm like, I'm not even going in there. I can hear the comments from here. You know what I mean?
I'm the opposite. I love going in there.
You don't get in.
I love it. I used to have a mustache, and always he looks like a paedophile. Ned Flanders, if he touched up his kids and all this shit, and they're fucking bad. I just sit there and stitch.
Isn't it annoying whenever it's a good one? That's fucking.
He looks like he smells the farts off bus seats and all this shit. And fuck me.
But that's what it's like. What the thing I was saying was that.
How did they know?
You feel seen all of a sudden. You're like fucking hell. But that was what I was saying, was that the point I was making, that it was that the biggest, it doesn't matter, the biggest comedian in the world could be coming here, and as soon as that article goes up, people same it doesn't matter who fucking shite wouldn't watch him if he was at the bottom of the garden. And then when Kevin Hart came, it actually happened. And when Kevin Hart came, it was exactly that, and I was killing myself. I was like, I wrote something about this, and there he's come, and people were going, who the fuck's here? Like, mate, he doesn't care.
Did you get any Kevin Hart action?
I didn't get up, but no, I didn't get doing before him. So I think it was only Colin and Shane ever did like opening for him.
I think I was talking to someone that said it might have been Dave Elliott. and it says you can come and I think it might have been Dave Elliott. There was one of him. You can open up for him, but because he's usually late, so if you come down and you're waiting, he's late, you can get up and open up for him.
Right.
But then he was coming on time all the time, and then eventually he was late.
Coming early.
Do you want to come up and do 5 minutes? And then he got his chance in, but it was like one of them ones. He didn't have an official.
Yeah. You just kind of be there, be in the mix.
Late,
I was away for. I was up in Donegal. I remember whenever I saw like fucking Kevin Hart being here. He did like some sort of April Fools or whatever. But like brilliant. And so it was actually one of my manager. It was kind of instrumental in it. You know, kind of knowing that he was in Belfast, and then somebody approached him was like he wants to do some, you know, sort of very intimate, closed off. Cause that was the big thing, the security and stuff. Like his stuff is worth so much in terms of his material that it needs to be no phones, locked down. And our manager was like, yeah, well, I'll sort of try and help and get that sorted. So it was brilliant for here, and I was like, that was my thing. Then when you like watching that, you just go, that just shows you the potential of this place. That somebody like that can come, and the clubs exist for him to come and feel comfortable doing it. Looks great, photographs well, great, you know, legacy hopefully that we keep building on. And I was like, you know, I don't get this thing of you never be jealous of what anybody else is ever doing. I'm just fucking made up that he came here and the people got the chance to get up before him, and I wasn't getting that, but I wasn't asking for it. And I wasn't fucking trying to. I just was happy for that. And then whenever I got fucking asked to, whenever I got asked to be Mickey Flanagan, then I was like fucking. There's like, there you go. I'm happy to go and fucking do that.
Biggest person you've supported then? Is that your only support?
The only support I've ever done. And like,
well, suppose you're a headline act, so
but it's like, but it's that one of the reasons why I never really have support isn't because like I don't want to give anybody a chance. It's literally that I'm doing.
Have support?
What is it?
Do you never have support?
No, because I've had it a few times, but it's because I with my tour shows
and all the money for yourself.
I want to keep it. It's an expensive pre-operation habit. But I do because I do my set is normally about an hour and 15 as myself, and then I have Nigel who's normally about half an hour. So that's an hour and 45 of on stage time. And venues will only give you that sort of 2 hour window almost to do it. So I would go on and do me from the start. I put on wee videos at the start just to have a bit of warm up for a couple of minutes, and then I get on and I do. And so I'm always pushed for time, off, changing the Nigel, straight back out after the interval, do half an hour, and then leave a video playing while I run off and get changed and come back out as myself and finish with an encore.
I think like having any kind of characters kind of like having a support act.
Yeah,
they're different vibes, everything. So
different
it's
taste.
like a different person's coming on all together. So kind of you don't
bit
need
of variety kind of thing. Yeah.
After you can be like, don't be getting your man Nigel back again.
You can rip the balls of him. Also helps for the tax man as well. Like that's Nigel. Send the invoice to BT9.
To be stressing before you go up with new material. This is going to flop and
more so at the very start, you know.
Has there ever been a time where you've wrote something and you thought, "Fuck, this is unbelievable"? You go up and I just dirt.
I kind of after the first sort of run of good open mic bits, and it was coming to. I did my first show. First show went down really well, and it was wee observational things that I thought nobody's going to wear this, nobody will want to hear this. They just want me to do the wee funny song bits and it was just a joke about Eagle taxis, you know, like and R.I.P. Eagle, you know, while I was doing that material, Eagle closed, you know, and went to crime. I was like, raging, it's not relevant anymore. But I was doing a wee bit about Eagle, about getting into a taxi and how you would get into an Eagle taxi, and you knew you were in an Eagle because you would get in and say, where are you going? You go city centre, and you go, what's the best way for me to go? You're a fucking taxi driver, you know. And then they start giving you options. Well, I could go down to Springfield and all. You know, it's like a fucking quest. You know, you feel like an NPC or something. You know. So I used to do, and that became. I literally only wanted to make one wee observation about that, and I was so nervous when I did it, and I got a big laugh. That the next time I did it, I went, I'm going to stick with this a wee bit. And I hadn't written anything, and I just kind of ad-libbed it. And then I went home and I went, that bit's good, and I wrote it. And I ended up writing like 5 minutes about being in what it was like to be in an Eagle taxi, you know, and then you made it relatable by it's any, you know, kind of sub, you know, local taxi. And so that's when I realised that's where your kind of your strengths are. Play to those strengths. Because then in the same set, what I had was a set of jokes about a certain subject. It was about the fucking Titanic, and every fucker's made jokes, but it was about a story, and then it led into these jokes. And I thought, like, I want to be a joke comedian as well. I want to be able to do that. And I remember the first time I did it, it just didn't go down well. I just went, strike that, you know.
What's the difference between a joke comedian and a... Is there all different...
Yeah, almost like a one-liner thing, you know.
What are you then?
Looking at my side, I'm a storyteller, but there are one-liners that pop up as a result of your story. But when we
gigged that time in Ulster Sports Club, it was like the first half was like one-liners.
Yeah.
Because you had the guitar.
Bit of guitar, yeah.
And then you went from that then in the storytelling.
Yeah, and it's like whenever I'm telling a story, that's where I've worked it out. Was I kind of had the one-liners about one subject, and it was all just one-liners as opposed to a story, and it didn't really go down well. And what I've realised is just do my normal stand-up, do my stories, but in amongst that story, if you have a chance to make a one-liner, so like if I'm talking about being in the wedding band and DJing, I say like, you know, I hated playing Grease Megamix. And like, you know, and then I say, see, whenever I mention Grease Megamix there, like I got chills, and and that's a one-liner. Whereas if you throw that in, and then you continue with the story, people will forgive you. It's a shite joke, but it's funny in amongst that. I was, you know, as I was doing that, I was going to see if nobody fucking laughs here. I died on my hole in front of 3 people.
What's harder to write, like a story or a one-liner? I'd say one-liner would be harder to write.
Yeah,
one-liners kind of present themselves almost, you know, you kind of, as you're telling the story, you know there's a wee corner of the story where you go, this needs a joke, this feels like, you know, I've gone too long since the last laugh, and that's when you kind of try and write one in, and sometimes they work, and they are just there to get you to the next stage.
What do you think about the comedians that just, I've seen it now, well, on Instagram more and Twitter or TikTok and stuff, like a lot of crowd work, all their set is all just crowd work now. And it's kind of an easy way to get the
brilliant if you can do it. And
good.
I've found that I kind of shy away from crowd work because it's so unpredictable. You just don't know where it's going to go. And I would feel I like to have a bit more control about what I'm doing. And I feel like if I go down an avenue and it doesn't bring a joke, I go, oh fuck, I died on that bit there. So it is a wee bit of that. But I think that the public love the crowd. Those ones because you're getting involved, and now what's happening I've been gigging over in England a wee bit and doing my tour and stuff there, and a lot of the comedians that I've seen on the scenes over there, I'm not too sure how bad it is here, but they're coming in after every gig going, they're fucking wild, and they just want to talk to, and the consensus is that people are watching those clips so much that they think that's what you have to do at a comedy club. You go and get tanked up, go out and sit and harp off at the...
My main frame, when I went over to America, this is the first time I went to comedy gigs in America, New York, and I always seen people going to the comedy shows and you get griefed, and that's what I was my thing.
You'll be sitting in the front row because you're going to get tortured.
But I said, fuck, I love that shit, so I went and sat in the front row to get griefed.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happening over here now.
Yeah, Did you get griefed?
Yeah. Every day.
Was that the Ned Flanders one? Or
just all about being Irish, just griefing us out. They can't understand us and stuff. But like I love that shit, and then I think like it's coming over to here now that people just go out to try and get maybe.
Yeah, the one that gets slagged. Yeah.
The clip thing's a good point as well, because I see a lot now at comedy gigs and people are calling out just random
what your clip from, and you've to try and remember what that clip was that they're talking about.
Here, toenails.
You're a different comedian, that's not mine.
How do you feel about hecklers during shows? Do you get much heckling?
Luckily, because most of my shows that I do are my tour shows, you know, because I'm not really I'm not massively out on the scene doing all the clubs all the time, and that's mainly because I've got kids, and you know, I find like if I
about 8 kids for you sure you can't get
on the you're right in the fucking stage. You're making clubs up. You're getting people to Photoshop you on a fucking Wednesday night at fucking Biddy McGinn's. Where the fuck's that? Tommy's headlining it.
Black Star's putting on the comedy.
She comes down, there's nobody here. It's just you hiding in the corner.
Trying to bring material.
I did a bit of crowd work. I'm lucky that, you know, doing your own tour, you don't really get too many hecklers. You know, they're paying to see you.
Would you hate it, or would you be alright with hecklers?
I've done a few gigs more in the early days where there was people heckling and the gloves came off and I fucking went a wee bit westy, and I'm not that fucking westy, but I kind of ended up coming off stage and I was like, fucking hell, I was like near shaking and all.
Man's content in the first round.
But I came off stage, and do you know Brona Diamond? Right? I come off stage. It was a night in the pavilion. I was headlining, and she was on as well. And I come off, and people were, I was fucking brilliant. What you said, your woman. I couldn't even remember half the things I said there. I was just reacting to what she was saying. and pulling faces, and then I couldn't remember, and I was, Brona just went, that was my auntie, and I went, oh fuck, because I really let in there. She's like, no, she loves all that. That was brilliant. I said, thank fuck, like Brona's auntie, you know, took it well.
I was looking at stories today, probably because I wanted to do a wee bit of, like to bring up some talking points, and something will come up that you were part of the lad.
Oh, aye, fucking hell.
And which was a gig, I remember at the time, but I didn't know. Remember the thing on Twitter, lad?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't even realise that you were part of it. But somebody threw you under a bus. He said you were the ladman.
Yeah, well, it's like one of those. It's Jesus Christ. I mean, that was 20.
Where are you the ladman?
No, well, in order. So I'd all. What did he say?
Ladman, come in.
Labyrinth. Right. We fucking labyrinth reference. Yeah. So it was one of those things where I used to make. So I actually do some of them. Fresh Prince of Belfast is one. Don't know if I did it in the Ulster Sports Club. So I used to, from I've been a kid, I've been doing parody songs, like changing. That's how I used to, in school, used to fucking, make everybody laugh by taking a song that was big at the time and then switching it round.
What school would it?
I went to St Anne's and then went to, I'm not going to say the other one because I got fucking stories. There's a few stories that I tell them stand up and they don't. And then they tried to book me to do a gig for them and all, and they were like, but we have heard a few stories, so I have to fucking watch. But basically, yeah. So I would have done like parody songs, messing about, and I always did. And then whenever I started playing in the band, there was a few people who would record things. I didn't really have any sort of technical wizardry to be able to record, so I recorded a few wee songs, Fresh Prince of Belfast being one of them, and they put it on their page at one stage. This, they'd made a wee video for it, because it was kind of like existing, like that WhatsApp viral kind of thing, nobody really knew who did it. So I did a few parody songs, sent them. It was actually, I think it was my brother-in-law knew about the page first and was like, here, you got to see this. I didn't really know too much about it, and then I just sort of sent a few songs and ended up posting some stuff on Facebook I was brought onto. And it wasn't until, I think it was, I can't remember what year it was, that somebody kind of was like, I didn't have access to the Twitter side of things. I think that's where a lot of the fucking shit went down. Yeah, so it was like sort of almost, not separate, but whoever set up the page in the first place ran the Twitter stuff. And I then started seeing screenshots and stuff of things that were being said on Twitter, and I was like, do you know what? And that's when I started to edge my way out, because it's one thing when something's anonymous and you're just fucking firing funny videos up on Facebook or whatever, and it's under an umbrella of something that's anonymous, and then you start seeing things that you're going, fucking hell, like proper running slagging battles, not necessarily slagging, proper political, and I'm like, I wouldn't even have I don't know where to start with that shit, So I kind of started to go, you can't be, I never wanted to be fully associated with something if you can't control all the output.
Were you still like under the radar? Nobody knew it was you.
I wasn't doing stand-up or anything at that time, and I had no plans to do it either. But it was whenever
just morally you were like, fuck this.
Yeah, well, it's that feeling that you got. You just kind of be like, you learn lessons from things, and I just learned, you never get involved in something that you don't know the other people. None of us knew each other or whatever. And if you can't be, it's like a social media experiment almost. If something was going on Twitter or whatever, and you weren't fully, you couldn't say or change or do anything, and then you started seeing things that you morally kind of disagreed with, they didn't represent your outlook on life and politics and everything else, then you kind of just start going, do you know what, that's not a good thing to be involved in. So I just kind of like I say, toned it back, didn't do anything really for ages through 2017, and then it was like by the time 2018 came around, I was doing stand-up. I had nothing to, hadn't done anything in it for a long while, so it's one of those things that you kind of go, you learn from your mistakes and you never get involved.
You were never the ladman?
I was never the ladman, no. Fucking Aladdin here, ladman, fucking Labyrinth, come in, like there's a party in that. Labyrinth, come in.
Talking of shit today. So we usually play a game at the end of each podcast where it's smack one, blank one, or buy one a beautiful dragon claw. So we're going to give you 3 names.
We've got Kevin Hart.
Yeah. We've got William Thompson.
And Mickey Flanagan.
Fuck. Oh no. And now I see what's happening. You have to fucking... So what is it? Somebody's going to smack you. Oh, Jesus. Right. I think I couldn't...
We want explanations.
You have to give a reason for it. You can't just go...
So I'd... The Dragon Claw, I'd have to be for William, because like he's fucking, he's a lovely fella, and he was the soothsayer at the start. Yeah. He was the sage. He was a manifester himself. Also, I wouldn't be a good look. I get cancelled for smacking somebody who's back to LA, you know. Nah, William definitely would be the Dragon Claw. So I would
blank and smack.
I would Mickey Flanagan, I would buy him a bottle of smack. So that's it.
That's
it. I'm pivoted. I prepped that. But fucking Mickey Flanagan. Which was smack?
Smack or blank him?
I would blank.
You're hardly going to smack a girl here, like, are you?
There's no girl. There's no girl.
Just throw her in there for no reason. Smack her on a diamond. She's like, what the fuck did I do?
I was thinking.
You're almost thinking.
I was thinking the same for a diamond.
He's taking it left.
All right, fucking hell. Oh Jesus.
Right, I'll have to. We'll take Kevin Hart out and put Brown in.
I'd smack Brona because she'd give us good tickets. Brona knock the balls, and I wouldn't feel as bad then. I'd be like smack her. She'd be like, here, fucking. She'd take the high heels off and batter me. I called her door one time. Like I can't remember what the reason was. I was like giving her something or laying her something, and like I rapped the door, and she was standing in her bra at the fucking sink, and her hair up. And just her mind. She looked, and I'm just standing there. So all right, Brona, what's the crack?
She should smack you. People talk.
Oh, fucking hell.
Everybody standing in the ground. Oh, just happened. Where are you standing? What's in your pocket? That's just my flashlight.
Okay,
well, thanks for coming on. You're a legend.
Thanks for having me.
Good luck in the future.
Thanking you.
Thanks for tuning in, people. Make sure to subscribe, like, share, and if you're on Patreon, there'll be a Patreon episode uploaded as well. We're doing it right after this show.
But for not on it, make sure you sign up £2 a month. Make sure you hit whiskeyandweight.com to get the merch.
Yep.
Still haven't seen Tyrone wearing anything. Even Sean's wearing a whiskey and weight top.
They've got me wearing a uniform.
It's actually warm. I was warm on the other day for training. That put up
for training.
But anyway, thanks for and tune in next week for us.
All right.
Boom.
Peace.
Oh.